Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're joining from. Welcome to the Data Platform Geeks webinar. Today's session is on SQL Azure Database Managed Instance, one of the SQL as a service offering from Microsoft. And this session will be delivered by Javier, who has previously also delivered a webinar with Data Platform Geeks. Before we start the webinar, I would like to quickly walk you through a few slides. Data Platform Geeks is a community initiative and a subsidiary of eDomino Systems, which has companies like SQLMaestros, Peopleware India, and Expand ERP. They specialize in trainings across SQL Server, and there are a lot of content available in terms of masterclasses and HOLs. Please do explore. Data Platform Summit. I am pretty sure everyone is aware that Data Platform Summit is the Data Platform Geeks conference that happens every year in August. And this is the fourth year of the conference. This is happening from 9th to 11th of August, a three-day event. And we have two pre-conference training days on 7th and 8th of August in Bangalore. We have 7 tracks, more than 100 sessions, and we have more than 50 speakers who are Microsoft MVPs, MCMs, and Microsoft product team members who are flying down from 18 different countries. And this is a 100% learning event. We have already released 54 sessions, and a second release is on the way. We'll be releasing the second release of sessions in a week. So please do take out your time and try to explore dpstrend.com and see what sessions are available. We are covering over 100 plus technologies at this conference. Quick look at the core team who is behind the Data Platform Geeks and who help in running this conference and the events like webinars and the in-person events. The eDomino teams who help us run these events across online as well as in-person events. A special thanks to Microsoft, who has been a great support in building this community and bringing these events to you. DataPlatformGeeks.com. If you are attending this webinar today, you would have already registered there. Please do explore because there's a lot of free content available on this site that will help you advance in your career. There are free videos, labs, and magazines that you can go and explore and learn by yourself on this site. Please also join the SQL Geeks group, which is the official Data Platform Geeks Facebook group and the LinkedIn group. You can post your questions or you can start answering questions and start helping the community from this point. And I would like to quickly hand over to our speaker today. Javier, over to you.
Hi, guys. How are you? Can you hear me well?
Yes, Javier.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. Well, let's start. Okay, today we will be talking about the future of. Yes.
We are still not seeing your screen. Can you?
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm not sure what happened. Let me share again.
Yes.
Is it okay now?
Yes, we can see the presentation now.
Perfect. All right, so today we will be discussing the future of SQL Server, and this is what we all see behind, right? We are all aware that Microsoft is doing heavy investing in Azure, and in particular in the data platform area. And well, SQL Server is one of the key components. So we will try to cover some of the pieces and flavors of this service. A little bit about myself. My name is Javier Villegas. I work at Mediterranean Shipping Company as a DBA manager for a number of years. I am involved with the Microsoft technologies, especially SQL Server, since the early versions, 6.5, etc. And my specialization is on administration, monitoring, performance tuning, and high availability. I'm also a data platform MVP, and I write and blog on different forums. And I am also a technical speaker on a number of events before here in the DataPlatformGeeks, the PaaS community, 24 hour of PaaS, and the NetConf. And I am active member of SQL Argentina team. Here is the agenda, some of the things that we will try to cover within this presentation. So let's move on. So if we need to modernize our workload, right, the only way that we may find these days is move it to the cloud, right? What is going to allow us is to start focusing on the business itself instead of focusing on the infrastructure, right? So if we really need to focus on that, we should consider Azure like the platform. Mm. These days, we know that the whole infrastructure thing is an issue because of investment and also because of monitoring and administration, etc. So this is something that we really want to pay attention, right? So we are all aware about what is PaaS and yes, right? Platform as a service and infrastructure as a service, right? Platform as a service is what Microsoft is giving us a service like, for example, SQL Azure database, right? This singleton database that Microsoft provided in the cloud with access um, from internet and from the private cloud, right? But that part, that SQL Azure database is like resized flavor of SQL Server. It's not something that we just need to grab our SQL workload and we move it over there. We have to do a couple of assessment and other stuff, right, that we're going to be covering later on this presentation. Infrastructure as a service on the other side is that if we need to have control on the infrastructure, on the platform itself, meaning the operating system, patching the operating system, taking care of the backups, the availability, the high availability and disaster recovery, right? Microsoft give us infrastructure as a service, which are these virtual machines, right? In where at the top of them, we install, handle, and manage SQL Server on-premise, right? The migration in that case is quite easy because we take a backup of our on-premise databases and workload, and we restore it to those virtual machines in the cloud, right? The path through is quite simple. But again, we need to keep focusing on handling the patching for both the OS, the SQL's engine, right? Every time that we have a new patch, we have to evaluate if it is useful for us, apply it, generate some sort of downtimes, etc. Right? But on the other hand, if we want to get rid of that and just focusing on the service itself, and as I said initially, focuses in our company growth, we can go to platform as a service, right? Because it provides us with a better TCO, right? Total cost of ownership, because we don't need to worry about all the infrastructure part anymore. We just need to focus on the SQL part, right? And in some aspects that we will be covering, is like putting our database on autopilot mode. So let's dig a little bit more on this. As for today, we have under infrastructure as a service this SQL Server running in Azure VMs, right? Which is, what we already have, what we said, managing the backup, the availability groups, etc. Microsoft provides us certain service level agreement, right? 3 nines, right? So, this is what we have. Microsoft, they also have to do the maintenance and patching of the hosting infrastructure. So this SLA is less than 43 minutes per month, approximately, right? Then, on the other hand, as platform as a service, what we do have today is this fully managed database, this singleton, right? Which, as I said, this is not SQL on-premise, is just a single database that we move to this service and we handle over there. There are a bunch of benefits. The ones that we discussed before, right? We don't need to pay attention on the infrastructure and patching, etc. But it also has GODR, right? So we don't need to worry about generating availability groups, configure monitoring, etc. The SLA is 4 nines in this case, right? And this version of SQL Server is always ahead of what we have on premise. So in terms of features, there are better things or newer things that Microsoft put first in Azure. This platform, Azure SQL Database, is quite mature. It's in the market for a number of years. It has a lot of success, right? But the migration of our existing applications that we have running on-premise to Azure SQL Database is quite hard because it's not totally compatible, right? We have to do a refactory of our application if we decide to go to Azure SQL Database, because one of the constraints, for example, is that you cannot have all your workload have to be packed within one database, right? You cannot do cross-database transaction, right? This is just one of the limitation of characteristic of this service, right? But it's so powerful. So what I always like to consider is that if we are building a brand new application, right? Not something that we have from the past, and we want to put on this platform. If we have a brand new application, well, maybe Azure SQL Database, if we are programming from scratch, is one of the best options. But then, on the other hand, we have our on-premise databases, our databases with SQL Server with plenty of databases, and we want to move it to the cloud. We said we cannot use Azure SQL Database. I mean, we can, but we will see later that this kind of complicates. We have the infrastructure as a service, the VM, but now we have Azure SQL Managed Instance, right? This is, the brand new service that, as for today, is in public preview, right? Which allow us to have a fully managed SQL Server instance in the cloud. What does it mean? We're going to have, from Management Studio on our private cloud, we can connect to the managed instance, and we will see almost 100% compatible SQL Server instance, meaning that we're going to see SQL Server Agent, we will have Service Broker, we will have all the availabilities, all the features related to security, always encryption, TDE, right? It's an almost 100% compatibility SQL Server application. So we can, go there, create our SQL shops, use exactly the same T-SQL code that we have on-prem, right? So it's going to be really easy to do the migration to our legacy or existing application to Azure SQL Managed Instance. As I said, this as right now is in public preview. They are expecting to go general available soon, right? So we will try to cover the middle part, Azure SQL Database Managed Instance, and we will see all the features that it has. Okay, as mentioned, is something between a VM running SQL on-premise and SQL Azure singletons, right? Is a fully managed SQL instance. One of the most important differences between managed instance and SQL Azure database is that Azure database has an endpoint that is published in over the internet, right? So over internet we can connect to an Azure SQL database. Managed instance instead is a private service, right? So you cannot publish, let's say, the port 1433 to the web. It has to happen within an Azure VNet. So the only way for us to connect to an Azure, to a managed instance is having a site-to-site VPN, right, from our data center to Azure, right? Or we can also have this express route that Microsoft provides. But we cannot access managed instance through internet. It has to be through the private cloud, right? This is one of the requests that the service has, and it's give it its characteristic. Right? It's not the same, but it's more intended for extend our data center to the cloud, not just to publish applications through the web. I mean, we can still do that, but on different ways, right? So what Microsoft like to call these services, like, we can lift and shift all our on-premise applications to the cloud with a really minimal changes in our application. And we will see it in a demo later. The biggest benefits we have here is that we don't need to take care of the patching at all, right? Microsoft does it for us, neither for the OS nor for SQL Server. Right? We don't need to take care of the availability group because internally it is replicated into 3 instances, geo-distributed, so we don't have, problems in terms of handling the availability group, which is the primary, the secondary, the read-only replica. No, we only have one entry point, right? And it is high available. We don't need to take care of the backups, and we will see it later because it's not necessary anymore. So we don't pay attention to the infrastructure at all, and we really focus on the application, on the business, and that's it. So is this server is this service, sorry, is part of the whole family of the PaaS infrastructure, platform as a service, right? Initially, we have the singleton SQL Azure database, right? Then, Microsoft introduced Elastic Pool, which allow us to, group several SQL Azure databases and, assign different resources in terms of, what they call DTU, data transaction unit, etc. So this is what is covering the SQL Azure database. And now we have managed instance with its own characteristics. So, okay, now we don't care about buying new hardware or renewing the hardware. We don't care about the, the backups. We don't care about HA or DR, right? We also know that Microsoft is implementing threat detection on this. So in terms of security, we are really secure, right? So most of the things are built in, right? So we know that Azure has certain industry standards, right? So if we need to certify, we know that we can rely on Azure. In terms, as I said, upgrades or high availability, we don't need to worry about. Then we will see that even here we have a way to tune and maintain a predictable performance, right? This is some of the features that Microsoft is introducing also in the on-premise SQL Server, right? For do automatic query tuning, right? Query store, and adaptive query planning. It's also built in here. Okay, let's see the service, what we have on the service, right? The migration is really easy. The only thing we need to do is just backup of our databases and restore it to a managed instance, right? So it's really easy. So in terms of the features itself, on managed instance, we have the native backup and restore. Maybe the difference is that we won't see a disk or a tape. We have to handle the backups to blob storage. So backups and restores are going to be made through a blob storage to an URL. Right? We're going to see it in the demo. Log shipping is part of the service. In terms of programmatically, right, we have all the T-SQL characteristics. There are few that are not available yet, but they are planned to be in the roadmap, right? So we have link servers, CLR, temporary tables, cross database queries and transaction, right? This is one of the biggest difference between Azure database and managed instance. We can, do joins on tables from multiple databases, right? Which is good. In terms of security, TDE, SQL audit, always encrypted, right? We have all the dynamic management views and functions that we all love. Extended event is also available, query store, SQL Server agent, the same thing that we see on premise. We have the operators, we have the alerts, the shops, etc. And database mail is also available. And finally, service broker is also available, CDC and transactional replication. So we can configure one of these managed instance to consume a publication, to subscribe to a publication from any other server. Okay. In the note, we have this. It supports compatibility mode SQL 2005 plus. What does it mean? We can put down, if we have an old SQL Server version and we need to, make sure that we need to maintain certain compatibility, right? The database's compatibility level are available, so we can change from compatibility level 100 till 140, right? So we can easily switch it as we do it in the on-prem world, right? It's really simple. You will see it. And as we mentioned before, the migration is really simple. So going back a little bit, right? Let's say that we need the necessity of moving our SQL Server on-premise, but to SQL Azure database to a singleton on the cloud, right? For any reason. As I said before, it's better if if we need to build a brand new application to consider that. But let's say for a moment that we need to migrate our stuff to Azure SQL DB. Well, Microsoft provides a bunch of services and applications to, do some sort of assessment, identify the workload, the database tables and schema, right? Process this, give us the recommendation of the thing that we need to modify, right? Rerun the assessment, right? Evaluate it again. So it's like this cycle until, our database is fully compatible to be deployed to Azure SQL database. This is going to take some effort, and actually a lot of efforts depending on the application and the sizes, right? And time, right? But again, this is Azure SQL DB, right? So this is a little bit, the schema on how we need to do it. We have to run these, applications, run the assessment, make sure, it works. When it's fully compatible, right? It, create this backpack with, all the stuff and deploy it to Azure SQL DB. At that point, we are kind of sure that we can grab our application, change the connection string, and point it to the Azure SQL DB, right? But again, it requires a lot of effort and it's time consuming, right? Here are some of the applications and services that Microsoft provides, right? Data Migration Assistant and Azure Database Migration Services. The, the, the good things on Azure Database Migration Services, which is something new, is that we can also consider non-SQL database like MySQL or even Oracle, right? So these are the services and the tools available to migrate to SQL Azure DB. If we need to do the same thing, but on managed instance, it's simple, right? We have our internal network, we have our SQL Server and the application pointing to our on-premise SQL Server. We take a backup and we put it into a blob storage in Azure, and we restore it, right? Really simple and fast. And the last point is basically to modify the connection string from our application. And we are 100% sure, or almost 100% sure, that we will be up and running quickly. Okay, we know that SQL Server is a bundle because it contains also integration services, analysis services, and reporting services. And for managed instance, we are only covering the engine, the SQL engine, right? So there are other things to consider. Right? Microsoft is offering some other paths to migrate or to cover integration services, analysis services, and reporting services. We're gonna see them later on, right? But there are services and options that help us. Just real quick, for analysis services, we still have the possibility, especially if we are working with analysis services multidimensional. The only way we have is just to deploy a virtual machine as infrastructure as a service, install SQL Server analysis services in multidimensional mode, and configure it over there. That's the only path we have right now. But in the tabular model, right, there is Azure analysis services, which is similar service than managed system, but for analysis services. Is really powerful. So the path to migrate analysis services tabular is going to Azure analysis services. In terms of integration services and reporting services, the complexity is a little bit different, but we will cover it in a second. All right. In terms of security, networking security, as I said at one point, this is not published to internet, right? So is everything located into an exclusive Azure VNet. The only resource that we can have on that VNet is the managed instance, right? And here in the slide, you see like 3 instances, right? But in reality, it's a copy of our instance, right? Which is internally handling in 3 different copies, right? So, and it's fully isolated in terms of networking. So the only way to access is with a VPN, with a site-to-site VPN, or doing VNet peering in Azure, something quite easy, right? And if we use Express route or a VPN gateway to our on-premise data center, right? Then from there we can easily connect with Management Studio from there. It's very simple. Okay, some of the things that are kind of obsolete or deprecated if we consider managed instance. Always on availability groups, right? No needed at all, because as I said, we have 3 copies distributed into different Azure data centers. So it's fully covered and fully available, right? So no need to configure or worry at all about availability groups. Backup restore, again, we don't need to do backup restore at all because it's secure by the platform, right? Managed instance also have Windows and SQL authentication, same as the on-premise product, but the only difference is that we cannot integrate it with our existing domain. We have to rely on Azure Active Directory, right? Then there are some other techniques to synchronize our on-prem Active Directory with the Azure and Active Directory, which is out of the scope of this presentation. But we can still connect as we are doing it today. Right? Managed data warehouse is also something that is not needed anymore, and also the policy-based management. Features that are fully retired here are database mirroring, right? Again, there is built-in H8 and Share replication, and well, extended store procedures, they're gone, and we have to rely on CLR. These are the features that are still not available, right? Some of them could be critical or a blocking for us to decide to go to managed instance. For example, and this is my case also, file string, file table, right? Is still not available on managed instance. This is what I say, near 100% compatible, right? Not fully 100%. So it's still not available. It is considered for post GA, but as today, it's not available. Cross instance DTC, right, is still not available. And all the part of data quality and master data services is still not available. Same for stretch database, the possibility of stretching tables to Azure.
I'm not sure how it's going to fit here, but still not available from the service itself. If we want to do this from Management Studio, it's still not available. And policy-based management is still not available. Okay, now we are getting close to see the service in action. So to do the provisioning of this, the initial point is like always the Azure portal, right? So during the setup, we have to go to Azure portals, go to manage instance, and start building our tier to deploy a managed instance. As for today, there is only one tier, the one that is general purpose, right? But as soon as it is GA, it's going to be two different tiers: general purpose and business critical, right? Business critical is going to have a very, very, very high SLA, service level agreement, and the storage will be faster than general purpose, right? As for today, we have the possibility of choosing 8, 16, or 24 cores, right? This is under discussion right, to expand these numbers. And you get charged for the amount of cores and the hour of use. In terms of storage, right? There are fast storage. In the business critical is going to be local SSDs, right? And the amount of storage that we need, well, we will see it when we deploy or when we try to deploy one of these instances in a minute. This is the roadmap, right? Maybe it's a little bit out of date. The public preview was expected for the last quarter of last year. It was finally available as public preview the first quarter of 2018 with all these features. And it was expected to be available during the first half of this year. It's still not GA, right? Probably second half of this year. That's the idea. Okay, how can we identify that we have, a managed instance? First of all, this is not a SQL Server on-premise running as a service, right? And they are just giving us the possibility to connect from Management Studio. No, this is a different service. So if we go to Management Studio and check the version with add version, we will see Microsoft SQL Azure, right? Not Microsoft SQL Server 2016 or 2017 or whatever, right? This is Microsoft SQL Azure. The migration, something to consider actually, we said that we can take our on-prem databases, take a backup, and upload it and restore it to managed instance. But we cannot do the other way around. We cannot take a backup of a managed instance database and restore it to on-prem, right? This is something to consider. All right, well, this is a quick summary of what we will seen before, right? The VNet integration, right? The benefit of platform as a service, business continuity, etc. So now let's go to most important part. Let's see this in action. As I said at one point, this is in public preview, right? So if you want to start testing managed instance, let me tell you that it's a little bit complicated, but it's possible, right? We just need some patience, actually,
right? First of all, we need an Azure subscription, right? And then what we need to do is go to our portal, then go to manage instance and request access to the public preview, right? So when we request that access, we're gonna enter our subscription is gonna enter into a list, right? And then Microsoft will eventually whitelist your subscription to be able to start testing the service. Another thing to consider is that Microsoft is charging for the use of managed instance, even if it is public preview, but they are charging half of the price that is going to be in the future when it's generally available, right? So these two things to consider, right? Uh, we need to request the access to the managed instance and wait until the approval, and we have to pay some Azure dollars in order to use it and test it, right? Okay, this is my portal, and down here we have SQL Managed Instance. Here I have my existing instance. Um, just a funny story. When my subscription get whitelisted, I try to create my own instance. So I went to the portal right away, tried to create the instance, provisioning, etc. But then I said, when I hit the final click, right, to do the deploy, I was waiting for, hours. So I went to sleep. The other day, I woke up and I saw that it was still, deploying the instance. So over, I don't know how many hours. So I call Microsoft and I say, hey, I don't know if something is wrong here or not. And the point is that it could take up to 30 hours to provision a managed instance. Again, this is public preview, so behind the scenes, Microsoft to do the deployment is putting a lot of effort and resource. So it could take several hours. So don't be scared if you don't see the managed instance created right away. So what we're going to do in this demo is we will go through all the steps to create the managed instance, but we won't create it, right? Then we will use the one that I already have deployed. So I'm going to hit add, and here we have the first screen. Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so here we have to select the subscription. You can see here that it is accepted, right? The subscription is whitelisted, but if I go to my other subscription, it's still not accepted, right? So I cannot proceed. So let's switch to the one that is accepted. We have to specify a name. So let's say DPG01 is available, so we can use it. We have to set up a login, a sysadmin login, right? So let's call it SA admin, and let's set a password. Oop. Okay, so now it has to be at least 16 characters. Then the resource group, we can create a new one or use an existing one, right? And the virtual network. As I said at one point during the presentation, the networking thing is quite, unique here, because the managed instance has to be the only resource within the VNet. Right? So there is a document here, right, which will drive you through the steps to create an isolated VNet and subnet ready for managed instance. So you should pay attention to that. Okay, so now we have to go and choose the tier. So go here, and we will see that we have, uh, the some sliders in terms of amount of virtual cores. We can go through from 8 cores to 24 cores right now. You see here that, it's giving us a proposal in terms of, not proposal, how it's going to be charged. By the way, these are Argentinian pesos, right? And then the same for storage. We can select the amount of gigabytes that we're going to need here, and it's going to tell us the amount of money we have to pay. One of the things that we can have here is that if we have software assurance and we own an on-premise SQL license, we can, move it to here, use it here, and do a big discount, right? So this is the price that we will be paying monthly for the service. Again, for the GA, so for the public preview. So if I hit apply here, it's gonna deploy. It could take, as I said, up to 30 hours or so to have the managed instance deployed. So I won't hit apply, and I will be going to my uh, managed instance. So this is the one that I already have, and the one I've been using. You will see it's like similar to others Azure services, right? We have our dashboard here, activity. Something important that we have is we can go here and see all the connection string for any kind of language that we have to use, right? So we can do copy paste, right, for ODBC, PHP, etc. If we are integrated with Azure Active Directory, we can specify the 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 account to be sysadmin from here. Well, pricing, we can review it here, change the amount of cores and amount of storage. And we have some metrics down here like CPU usage, storage, etc. Right? So we can have our portal from here. Okay, so now that it's deployed, now that we have it provisioned as a service, we need to use it, right? So in order to use it, I have deployed a virtual machine in Azure, which is, I don't have a VPN connection from where I am right now to Azure. So what I have here is another VNet in Azure, which is paired with the one that I have the managed instance. So from here, I have a Windows machine with Management Studio, and I am able to connect to managed instance. Something to pay attention, if we go back to the portal, the name, right? The naming convention for, this is the host name, right? So this is the name that we use or we choose for our managed instance, but this is the whole DNS suffix, right? It has some meaning, especially the first letters are where in which data center is deployed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So this is the server name, let's say if we need to connect from Management Studio. Okay, let's go back to my virtual machine, right? So in this virtual machine, I have an on-premise SQL Server 2017 installed here. So I am connected. I'm going to minimize this here. And now I will be connecting to my managed instance, right? Here is the connection string and the account that I created during the provisioning as sysadmin. So I'm going to hit connect, and here we can see our instance, our managed instance in the cloud, right? We can have, it's completely, it's the same than an on-premise SQL Server, right? We have security, we have the databases, we can go do right-click properties, see the the setup. So it's really simple. Mm. Same for memory, processor, etc. So, okay, we say that here we have some databases and we have some other databases. Some of them are the same in our local VM. So let's do something quick and simple. We have the employee case study in our on-premise SQL Server. So we're going to take a backup and restore it to the managed instance. So I'm going to do the backup to an URL, to a blob storage that I already have set up, right? So this is, again, my on-premise SQL Server. I have the backup file created in blob storage. So now I'm going to the managed instance, see down here, and I will do the restore from this employee case study database from this blob storage, right? So now it's restoring. Maybe, it's going to take a little bit because, as I said, it's had to replicate it to 3 different instances to handle the HA and DR, right? It's not going to be too much, but it's going to do the restore of the employee case study. And, this database doesn't contain any feature like file string or file table. So in terms of our application, we are really sure that if we change the connection string and instead of pointing to my local VM, we point it to the managed instance, the application is going to work with absolutely no problem. While we keep doing the restore, we see here that we have SQL shops, so we can create new SQL shop as we do in the on-prem world, right? No big deal. Something to see here is that if I do select at version, as I mentioned before, right? We have SQL, Microsoft SQL Azure, right? So it's not SQL Server 2017. Okay, so restore is complete. I go here, I refresh, and now I have the employee case study database here with all the tables, store procedure, exactly the same. One of the things that we also mentioned during the presentation is that linked server is available, right? So from a managed instance, we can create a linked server to our on-premise SQL Server and use it as a linked server. So the last part of the script, here we create a linked server to another VM running SQL Server, no big deal. And what I want to show you here is that we can select from the link server tables like we do today in on-prem. Mm. So this is managed instance. Let's switch to the presentation. Okay. So if you need to remember something, I'd like you to take this slide, right? So because it has the differences between all the Azure SQL database flavors, right? The singleton, SQL Azure DB, the elastic pool, and managed instance. Mm. Okay, now let's try to. We have a few minutes. I will cover this part very quickly, which is the new role of the DBA. So if now we don't need to worry about, patching or high availability or backups or stuff, right? Those are things that today as DBA we have it in our head, right? uh, what we're gonna do? Are we gonna lose our jobs because the service is doing everything, right? This is a question that I'm always getting, or quite often, right? Because now we have some of the things are being done automatically. So what we're gonna do? And what I believe and what I've been discussing with other professionals is that definitely not. We're gonna have other challenges to focus on, and as the service and the platform evolves, we have to evolve as well, right? We as DBA, we have to evolve and try to uh, you know um, make sure that we follow the evolution for the service, right? The platform, because you saw it in the last year. Microsoft is releasing more aggressively in terms of features, etc. So we need to focus on that and evolve as a service as well. Mm. Okay, so I think I'm done. So I have my contacts here, Twitter, LinkedIn, and my blog. Feel free to contact me for any question related to this presentation or any other thing related to the data platform umbrella. So if there are any questions.
All right, thank you, Javier. Please do post your questions on the Q&A panel, and while you do that, I will quickly share some information about the pre-conference that are available at the conference this year. Very quickly go through it. All right. So as I've said earlier, the conference is announced, and we have two pre-conference training days that are on 7th and 8th of August. On 7th of August, we have Troubleshoot and Optimize SQL Server Like a Pro by Dmitry Kotkovich. He's a Microsoft Certified Master from US and also a Data Platform MVP. We have Sunil Agarwal, who has been a very great speaker in the past events, and he'll be doing a full day training on how to migrate your on-premise databases to Azure, both SQL DB as well as managed instance. We have Rezarad, who is a BI expert and MVP from New Zealand. He'll be doing Power BI from Rookie to Rockstar. Dr. Leila Itati, she's a data scientist and an AI MVP from New Zealand. She'll be doing two pre-conferences. The first one is Leading Edge Data Science with Microsoft Tools. Andy Leonard, a world-renowned SIS and BI expert. He'll be doing a full-day training on intelligent data integration with SQL Server integration services and Azure Data Factory. Cosmos DB and the team of Cosmos DB, Madan Gajendran, and his team will be doing a full day training on Cosmos DB. The second pre-con by Dr. Leila Atati is on the second day, is building intelligence applications using the Microsoft AI platform. If you're really serious about data science and R, this is the session for you. Steph Lockie, a data scientist and also a data platform MVP from UK, she'll be doing a practical R for everyone. The data cat team, Sanjay Mishra and his team will be doing a full day training on how to build a scalable data architecture in Azure. Joey and Denny are coming back. So Joey DeAntony is doing a full day training on SQL Server for DBA on Linux. And we have Peter Myers, who has been a very popular speaker last year. He'll be doing a full day training on Zero to Analysis Services. Denny Cherry will be doing HADR pre-con on SQL Server and Azure. If you need help with getting sponsorship for your conference, talking to your manager or your L&D department, we can help you with that. So please do contact us at contact@dps10.com, and you can reach us on the direct numbers as well. Or there's more information on dps10.com about the pre-conference trainings, about the sessions that are announced, and regular updates that is going to be published on dps10.com. With that, I'll leave the Q&A to Javier. We have 2 questions.
Okay.
The first one is when will GA available? We can restore on-premises DB backup file to managed. Can we restore on-premise database backup file to managed instance? And
yes, definitely same as during the public preview, right? But we cannot do the way back from managed instance to on-premise, right? That's is a characteristic of the service, like a higher version, right? If you want to try to restore a backup from SQL Server 2017 to an earlier version, like 16 or so. So.
And next question, is geo replication available, primary, secondary? Can we take remote on this instance?
Okay, well, this is the good part. We don't need to worry about primary, secondary, or listener, or nothing of that, right? If there is a major problem in the data center in where our managed instance is hosted, automatically can be moved to another Azure data center, right? And for us, it's not going to change at all. We're going to keep using the same connection string, so we won't kind of notice at all, right? So one of the characteristics that I didn't mention is that the databases that we put in managed instance, they have to be in full recovery model, right? Because internally the service itself is going to take care of the backups and the availability group, but in a transparent way, right? So again, we don't need to worry about the high availability at all.
Awesome. And the next question, I think you have already answered that. Can we use SQL managed instance backup file to on-premise SQL Server?
No.
And the answer
No.
for that was no. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We don't have any more questions, but if for the attendees, if you have any more questions, you can actually use our Facebook group to post your questions. And thank you, Javier, for taking out your time today and delivering a wonderful session. And thank you for all the attendees to take out your time and attend the webinar. Please do also look at the coming up webinars. There are wonderful webinars lined up for this month.
Okay. Thank you so much. Enjoy the day.
You're welcome. Thank you and have a good day. Cheers.